morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. We are Africa First, bringing you the latest news and stories around the continent of Africa. I am Oluchi Enobong.
And I'm Olisa Chukuma. Hello and good morning, Africa. It's a Thursday, the 7th day of October 2021. Such delight to have you join us once again on Breakfast Central, and this is News Central. Let's start by looking at the headlines for today.
And we start in Ethiopia, where the Prime Minister names new cabinet amidst pressure.
Also on the program, Liberia opens new mental health care center in the country, Monrovia. We'll tell you all about it today.
And we will be talking with a guest on the Pandora paper with names listed in tax.
Also, the WHO approves the rollout of malaria vaccine for children, quite a big one on the continent of Africa.
And we'll be bringing you trends from the continent of Africa today.
All that and more today on Breakfast Central.
News Central ní ẹ̀ ń wò.
Well, many thanks for joining us. It's Breakfast Central on a Thursday. I was taking you to Liberia, where a new center to treat people who have mental health issues has been opened in the country's capital of Monrovia, now making it only one of its kind in the West African nation, which does not have a government facility providing mental health services there. Well, Senator Abraham Darius Dillon, who funded the center's construction, said he was moved by the mental health needs of people still dealing with the trauma of civil wars, which, well, ravaged the nation a couple of years ago.
Now, he added that the facility will also run a clinic as well as recreational and vocational center. Now, we have joining us this morning on the program to talk on this topic, publisher for Global News Network, Joel Chulu Brooks. Welcome to the show, Brooks. Now, tell us what the opening of this center means for Liberians. Right, now we're looking at Liberia's story now, and this is ahead of the World Mental Health Day that is coming up on the 10th day of October this year. That will be on a Sunday. And it seems like Liberia, the Ministry of Health, has come out to open a mental center for Liberians. And we have a guest on the program who is talking on the mental state of health of Liberians. We have publisher Global News Network, Joel Chulu Brooks, on the program this morning. Welcome to the program.
All right, so while we look to get Joel on the program to get to hear him loud and clear, it's a big story. Hello, Joel. Morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
Hello.
Loud and clear, Joe. Right, Joel, we're talking about the opening. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Joel Brooks. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us what this opening means in Liberia, this mental health center.
Right. I think was having a little technical issue. Now, looking at Liberia, a 5-year mental health policy and strategic plan was released in 2017 by the Minister of Health in Liberia with support from World Health Organization and their partners. Now, according to reports and statistics, it says that as many as 1 in 5 Liberians suffer from mild to moderate mental disorder. In fact, as of 2018, there was only 1 psychiatric hospital in Liberia with just 2 psychiatric doctors. Now, Liberia has been through a whole lot in terms of the civil war, the 14-year civil war that has suffered, and this has caused a lot. Exactly, it has caused quite a lot in the economy and the well-being of the country.
Yes, we have Joel Brooks in the capital of Monrovia, Liberia, to tell us more about this one. What we do know that this is the only first of its kind for the African nation, which really doesn't really have a government policy when it comes to providing mental health services. We saw Senator Abraham Darius Dillon, who funded the center's construction, saying that he was moved by the mental health needs of people, like you pointed out, still suffering the trauma of 14 years of civil war in the country. Well, I'm sure Joel Brooks has been following this one because it's quite a big one as we look ahead to the Mental Health Day on the 10th day of October. Joel Brooks, welcome. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast Central. I hope we can talk to us right now, Joel.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm here now.
All right, Joel. Tell us what the opening of this center in Monrovia means for Liberians.
I mean, Liberians were so excited of this news. Many were so happy, louding praises on Darren Dillon, who is an opposition lawmaker. And I mean, every corner of the city or the county or the country you were in, people are so excited. Say, well, Liberia always making history. Can you imagine? Liberia is the first country in Africa to have a mental health center. I mean, that's a boost for Liberia anyway.
Right, that's a really good one, Brooks. But tell us, really, since this is the first mental health center in Liberia to be open, how has the country been dealing with mental-related ailment before now? Now, we understand that there's been a lack of knowledge and stigmatization around mental health-related illness. Tell us what it is like now.
In fact, myself, I was so excited because when I heard the health authority saying that we have 1.2 million mental health victims, I mean, I said, wow, what? You want to tell me everybody here crazy? But then I was told that it's not you don't have to be crazy before you have a mental health problem. You can have some psychological problem, and all of those things are all included into mental health treatment. So the health authority and also lauding the opposition lawmaker, Darren Dillon, for the move he has taken. In fact, most media houses here wrote editorial lauding the lawmaker for his stand, even though he's one of the critical guy in the government, criticizing the government for not doing better. But people are so happy about that. I mean, people are happy.
Wow, clearly jubilant scenes and a sense of excitement and positivity in the capital, Monrovia. But Joel, now, given that this center is going to be fully funded by just one individual senator, do you see it, opening more doors for more mental health centers opening around the country beyond Monrovia?
Well, I think because from what Dillon said when I had an interview with him, he said that this will not be the first. He want to make sure that most of the leeward counties have similar center. But the question is, where is he going to get his support from? Because the government has not come out to express its support. But he said, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have even a vocational center for people who cannot afford to be able to attend such vocational center. So, I mean, Dillon is saying he's going to do it nationwide. It's not only Monrovia based.
Right. Now, Brooks, it is one thing to have a mental health center in the country. It is another thing to have the people, the personnel that will be there to sensitize the people and to encourage more people to come to this center to receive treatment. What is Liberia doing concerning personnel?
I think you got a point. You got a point. I think health authority, even though the guy who built the health center is an opposition, but they welcome the idea, and they are working on, from what I heard from one of the officials on radio, they are working on modality to supplement his effort because they realize that, I mean, Liberia has been put on the map for being the first country in West Africa to have a mental health center. So the health authority also saying they're going to work along with the lawmaker to making sure that his dream comes true.
All right. Well, Joel, I wonder if you've been speaking to any of the Liberians there. This is a country which suffered years of civil war. Trauma clearly lurks in the looks and crannies of people's hearts. Do they really speak about it, about the kind of trauma that they face? Do people want to talk about it? And will they even access this mental health center? Will they go to receive this treatment now that it's been opened?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, Liberia have gone through a traumatic situation. In fact, in Monrovia, sometimes you walk the street of Monrovia, you see people talking about themselves. I mean, they are not really together, So I think with the establishment of this mental health center, Liberians will be so excited and will be happy. But the question, like I kept saying, the question is whether that mental health center will have the kind of support that it needs, So, I mean, people are looking forward to see it happening. But the ordinary people who also spoke to my reporter yesterday, they are so excited, and some of them are saying, well, since Dillon is saying he's going to open a vocational institution, also, they will find part, they will make sure that they also have their relatives, their children enroll at that vocational institution, because it's a good thing for Liberia.
All right, thank you so much, Joel Cholo Brooks, publisher, Global News Network, for coming on the Breakfast Show program this morning, telling us all about the new mental health center in Liberia, Monrovia. Thanks once again, Joel.
Thank you.
All right. Well, more top stories coming your way on Breakfast Central. Let's take you to Ethiopia now, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has named a new defense minister and peace minister in a cabinet shake-up that comes just days after a new 5-year term. We saw him sworn in. Now, the cabinet was approved yesterday by Parliament, where Abiy's Prosperity Party has an overwhelming majority. And the approval of the 22-member cabinet comes amid growing pressure from the Western country to resolve the Tigray crisis in the region. Let's
now join our East African correspondent Abdinol Aden for more on this development. Good morning, Abdinol. Welcome to the program. Now give us an update on the new cabinet and its members, both the new and the returning ones.
Thank you so much, Olu and Oli. And the new thing about this cabinet is that apart from the retention of the finance minister and the foreign minister, is the appointment of members of the cabinet from the opposition parties, who have 9 members in the parliament. Speaking of the 3 opposition members, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has stand as part of the new inclusivity approach and breeding a culture of working together in the country.
All right. Well, this is quite a surprising one. What has been the reaction so far with the appointment of an official from the Tigray region as defense minister? Speaking of Abraham Bele.
Well, Abraham Bele has had a close working relationship with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and this hints at more of a trusted man, a right-hand man, and since they've also worked together in the past, he was also the interim leader of the provisional Tigray administration, where he was appointed in May 2020. Now, this also means that the country might be having a new approach in handling the Tigray crisis, because Minister Abraham brings with him experience coming from previous Ministry of Innovation and Technology, the Ethiopian Cybercrime Agency. He's had a lot of experience, and this means that it's part of the approach Abiy Ahmed is trying to apply in this second term.
Right. Now, Abdinol, Ethiopia faces growing international condemnation over its handling of the conflict in Tigray, which is home to about 6 million people. Now, with the new defense minister in place, are we likely to see more or better changes and better stories coming from the Tigray region?
Well, the members of the cabinet were just approved by Parliament. We are yet to know some of the approaches, and some of, even they haven't yet been sworn in. But what we expect is that with increased pressure from international bodies such as the UN, the United States of America, and many other close friends of Ethiopia, it means that also looking at the announcement by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in terms of inclusivity, it might be a matter of winning back support from the international partners, as well as increasing faith within the Ethiopian citizens. And the other thing is that apart from the defense minister, the fact is that the 3 key opposition leaders have also been handed 3 strategic cabinet positions. Therefore, Prime Minister Abiy, in his address to Parliament, while seeking their approval in the new cabinet, was that they should ensure they support the executive and not to sabotage the expectations and their plans.
Right. Well, Abdi, looks like people might describe this as an attempt to have an inclusive government from Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And Abby, don't forget that just about a couple of weeks ago, we had one of the youngest women in his former cabinet resign over the issue about the crisis in Tigray, saying it was something that had to do with her conscience. Now, are we going to see some things like that in this new 5-year term with this new cabinet, or can we just put that behind us right now and let's move forward for Abiy Ahmed?
Well, since he took over the administration of the country in April 2018, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was known for doing cabinet reshuffles, and most of the times we've seen 3 or 4 cabinet ministers being either fired or taken to other new dockets with new people being appointed. But the resignation of the minister actually, as said by some analysts, was that she might have had the clue that she wouldn't be in the forthcoming cabinet, which was named yesterday by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And also, if you look at the retention of Finance Minister Shide, it also shows that this is beyond lack of trust in his members of the team, but it hints at the direction the Prime Minister prefers to take in terms of the administration of the country. Now, only as in order to conclude on that point, is the fact that the Deputy Prime Minister, who is also the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Mekonnen, the retention also shows that this is more of a power play in this new Ethiopia.
Right. Now, Abdinol, I mean, let's talk about the Pandora Papers and the Kenya president, because his name has been mentioned. Now, not just his name, himself and 6 of his family members have been linked to 13 companies, offshore companies. Now, tell us, what is the people of Kenya, how are they taking all of this, knowing that their president and 6 of his family members have been linked to offshore companies that may be enjoying what they call tax haven?
Well, this isn't the first time, because in the past we've had also Kenyan officials being accused of stashing their cashes abroad. But President Uhuru Kenyatta gave a reaction in relation to the expose, where he says that he will really welcome any report and investigations in order to help his government efforts to tackle corruption in the country. But Kenyans on social media were actually expressing their anger at the revelations that shows that despite the country facing economic challenges, such amount of money could be out of the country. And someone even saying that even if the stolen cash or the money that has been kept abroad will have been left to circulate within the country, maybe the economic hardships would have been relieved. But these remain investigations, and the presidency has termed it as accusations, and anybody with evidence, according to the presidential spokesperson, Kanzedena, is that any further reports or evidence will actually be welcomed in order to help the country tackle the corruption problem. But the president himself, also according to a section of Kenyans, the political analysts, they're saying that if the president was a beneficiary or his family has been involved, then it doesn't necessarily, raise fingers to him.
Right. Well, talking about the Kenyatta family dynasty and properties abroad. But thank you so much, East African correspondent live from Kenya, Abdinol Arden, for coming on and giving us the latest in terms of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's new cabinet, and also the Pandora Box Papers naming Kenyatta's family asset. Well, thank you so much, Abdin, once again.
All right, now we move to the next story, talking about a little bit of good news from the World Health Organization, as they have approved, I beg your pardon, the rollout of a malaria vaccine for children across Africa in what has been described as a historic moment in the fight against the deadly disease.
Well, the WHO chief, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says that tens of thousands of young lives could be saved by the vaccine each year, and with the approval coming 6 years after the vaccine called the RTSS was proven effective.
Today, WHO is recommending the broad use of the world's first malaria vaccine. This recommendation is based on results from an ongoing pilot program in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi that has reached more than 800,000 children since 2019. This long-awaited malaria vaccine is a breakthrough for science, child health, and malaria control. Using this vaccine in addition to existing tools to prevent malaria could save tens of thousands of young lives each year. Malaria has been with us for millennia, and the dream of a malaria vaccine has been a long-held but unattainable dream. Today, the RTSS malaria vaccine, more than 30 years in the making, changes the course of public health history. We still have a very long road to travel.
A long road to travel, but far along we have become. So when it comes to malaria, so it's big news this morning around Africa.
It is. I mean, because according to what World Organization has come out to give us reports, about 500,000 people die each year from this malaria situation, and half of this number is experienced by children under the age of 5. Now, Nigeria, as we speak, is the country that has the world's greatest malaria burden, with approximately 51 million cases, and about 207,000 people die from malaria each year in Nigeria alone.
So that's the big story, and I'm sure there'll be lots to follow on it on our subsequent news bulletins right here on News Central, including Breakfast Central, a malaria vaccine for children. The RTSS has now given the approval by the WHO, an historic landmark moment, and the rollout of how it will go in the coming days will be quite an interesting one to see. And how many doses we hear? I think about 4 doses.
4 doses, yes. For between the ages of 5 months to about 18 months, 17, 18 months. And then the 4th dose will be taken 18 months after. The question I want to ask is, children who have gone beyond that age, will they still be able to take it?
Yeah, what about we adults? Malaria, the recurring problem. All right, still Breakfast Central on News Central. Well, there's still more top stories right here. The interim parliament in Chad has taken office nearly 2 weeks after its members were named by the military junta that emerged following the death of long-term ruler Idris Deby Itno. Now, the 93-member assembly calls the National Transition Council approve Harun Kabadi as its speaker through a vote by acclamation.
Now, 73-year-old Kabadi, in his acceptance speech, says the goal of the council is not to oppose the government systematically, but to look for ways and means to create stability in the country.
Je tiens à faire observer que notre objectif au CNT n'est pas de nous opposer systématiquement au gouvernement, mais plutôt de créer un climat d'apaisement et de stabilité.
Il faut de l'expérience. Et ces jeunes que vous voyez, je pense que la plupart n'ont pas d'expérience. La plupart, c'est pour la première fois de s'asseoir sur ces chaises. Comment voulez-vous qu'une personne, pour la première fois, et qu'il dirige une institution comme le Conseil national de transition, c'est tout à fait anormal qu'un jeune peut se manifester. Mais dans l'avenir, le bureau est là, vous allez voir suffisamment de jeunes et suffisamment de femmes.
It's still Breakfast Central on News Central. Let's take you straight to the newspapers. So far, so good today. Yes, it's the 7th day of October 2021. It's a Thursday, so we're starting with the paper. This one coming from
Daily Monitor. That's the Daily Monitor we're looking
Uganda.
at on the screen. Yeah. Uganda. And the header here says, Buganda Land Board illegal. This is coming from the government minister this morning. Now, the writer says, Kingdom says BLB is a fully incorporated entity under the Companies Act. Well, you need to go to page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor for you to read more on this. Now, on page 3, you can see where it says all teachers need counseling before school reopening. That's UNATO who is saying this from page 3 of the Daily Monitor this morning. Now, this picture you can see here, the front page of the Daily Monitor. You can see bullets, you can see a shotgun. It's all about insecurity. And you can see the picture of a person here. It says suspect killed in raid targeted local politician. That's what the police is coming out to say from the Daily Monitor this morning. Now you can go to page 4 also, where you have the story about the WHO who has approved first malaria vaccine in a breakthrough. This is coming at a time when we are still having challenges getting the COVID-19 vaccine across different people in Africa. But more on this from the Daily Monitor this morning.
Come on. What about the one about, the lovely couple up there, center of the paper?
I mean,
you can't miss it now. Come on.
You had to go there and see that. I mean,
yeah, DM today's relationship. He proposed at a friend's wedding meeting. Come on, let's not. It's a Thursday.
Why would he propose at a friend's wedding? Why?
All right, away from that, let's go to the Sowetan in South Africa. To see what they have for us this Thursday. Nothing lovey-dovey, as you can see there on the front page. Well, it's all about this, the metal workers strike, which, as they say, has turned ugly on the front page of the Sowetan. Says, I thought they were going to kill me. That's a truck driver giving an account of being beaten to a pulp and stabbed. He tells of one of the strikers pleaded with the mob to stop beating him. And we hear strikers go on looking for what they call sellouts, while the NUMSA boss, Jim, won't respond to his call that no sellouts will be allowed to go to work. Also, you can see down the front page, still more of the violence there. A bit of security guard, in plain clothes, was being beaten up. You can see it was captured there by all these men, the NUMSA members in Berksburg, which is the East Rand area yesterday. Now, this after he pulled out a gun on them and he tried to force entry for the wholesaler. So we heard that one protester was shot by the security operative who was being beaten to a pulp. Quite a sad story on the front page of the Sowetan in South Africa this morning. Also, you can see that Siya Kolisi, the captain of the rugby team, the Springboks. So it's all about what keeps Bok captain going. Find out more on page 20 of the Sowetan. And a peek of David Tale's latest. Find out more on that on the front page of the Sowetan in South Africa.
From Sowetan, we're coming back to Nigeria. We're looking at the Punch this morning. Now, the Punch has quite a number of stories. Huge budget deficits don't harm our future. Experts warn government. Federal government plans more loans. Are you here? Are you listening? More loans coming from the federal government.
There's talk about this administration 29. Being addicted to loans.
Lisa, I mean, it says here, Naira will fall further, inflation will rise, debt servicing will worsen. It sounds like doom, but this is coming from experts, not from me. Government will continue to borrow to finance projects. No money, says minister, and we keep borrowing, yeah. All right, that's on page 29 of the Punch this morning. Now you can see this picture here with a lot of people. You're wondering what's going on. Well, these are Afghans at the passport office in Kabul in Afghanistan after Taliban announced the resumption of issuance of passports to the citizen. More on that from the Punch this morning.
And quickly in first news in Nigeria, returning to breakfast central, is a picture of the President Buhari on the front page and talks about Anambra state of emergency likely, says federal government, and it seeks to ensure next governorship election polls. And also there's a picture of him and the former president, says Buhari Jonathan in closed door meeting. All that and more on the front page of the first news in Nigeria. Now, that's it for the papers.
Right.
We'll take a quick breather. Right here is Breakfast Central on News Central, and we'll be right back for more. Right, you're also watching Breakfast Central on the News Central. It's a Thursday, 7th of October, 2021. First of all, a recap of the stories we brought to you so far on the program.
And we talked about Ethiopia, where the Prime Minister names new cabinet amidst pressure.
Also, WHO approves the rollout of malaria vaccine for children.
And we touched Liberia, where the country opens new mental health care center.
Now, the Pandora Papers has been a massive leak exposing firms that specialize in setting up, dummy companies, offshore companies in territories such as the British Virgin Islands and Panama. Now, the leaked documents have allowed journalists from all over the world to lift the corporate veil and reveal the companies and their owners.
The project was organized and led by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, that's the ICIJ, and many journalists from across the globe. Now, according to Finance Uncovered, it is not against the law to secretly buy British properties using anonymous offshore companies, but many specialist advisors have routinely recommended clients invest in this manner to legally avoid tax.
But many of those mentioned on the list did not make public these notable wealth, and the fact that some went to great lengths to hide them shows the intent to avoid scrutiny, and this, in this case, when it comes to paying taxes. Now, many African leaders, present and former, were mentioned in these papers, but the big question is, how can Africa prevent parts of her wealth being invested elsewhere and further enriching other regions of the world?
Now joining us on Breakfast Central is Chief Economist at the Streetnomics. We have Gospel Obele. Welcome to the show, Gospel.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning, Gospel. So it was Pandora Papers, or perhaps the opening of, as they say, Pandora's box with Luxembourg's leaks. Panama Papers and others, new legislation were enacted in Europe to guard against this capital flight amongst themselves. Now, do you see Africa doing any of the same to prevent such in the future?
Not at the moment, because even our structures are designed to enable for more capital flight in the sense. Capital flight is a very complex phenomenon, especially for vulnerable and highly underdeveloping economies in the sense. So when you look at Africa as a whole, you see that when you look at net exports, number one, when you look at even system-wide engagement, there are different pockets of leakages, all right, that acts as incentives for capital flight. Also knowing fully well that Africa presents a very huge market, a very huge global consumer market in the scheme of things. So even companies that present themselves as multinationals are in their own systems and processes designed to enable for capital flight as well. Regulatory speaking, as also MDAs in this part of the world haven't been able to, how will I put it, rework their processes and systems to ensure that they can identify potential capital flight threats and engage and deal in the sense. Some business and political elites as well have positioned their interactions, in such a way that it has enabled for capital flight. Then also saying to a large extent, due to the investment climate of the economy, that's the African economy right now, it's not primarily a place where people want to invest as a result of the stability, insecurity, and the worsening state of the currency and all that. All of these dynamics have helped to position capital flight as sort of the next frontier for economic agents, even within and outside the continent per se.
Right. Now, Gospel, are you saying that it is illegal or not illegal to use or to enjoy or benefit from this tax haven?
But it depends on the perspective you're looking at. The capital flight in a sense can be legal, and there's some parts of it that seem legal, some part of it I'm afraid the illegal bit, because there's also a significant informal economy in the continent. Right, on the legal bit, that's when you talk about exports, invoicing, on the payment, on the stating payments, all right, on the invoicing and over invoicing. Sometimes companies over invoice to enjoy subsidies and other tax breaks in African countries. So these are seemingly formal processes that are put in place, but it has been designed in such a way that people can also game the system to take advantage of it. So it's a very complex phenomenon that, if you look at it from different economies in Africa, all right, they have their different approach to dealing with all of these dynamics I mentioned, and leakages can also differ among economies. So it's very complex than just situated under tax evasion avoidance.
All right, avoidance or evasion. Obele, would it be wrong to prosecute some of these mentioned for tax evasion, since they have not paid the taxes to their home nations for these foreign properties? In fact, are there even laws that can, aid the prosecution of these?
Yeah, from the top of mind, there should be, but you can't really do that now because you already have a complex tax structure and tax system in Africa. Already, that doesn't seem very clear, all right, as it stands now. The VAT conversation is still on the table in Nigeria, all right, the state government vis-a-vis federal government, who should collect what and why and how or where, So there's also a conversation of multiple taxation in the system. So it's going to be very difficult. Like I mentioned earlier on, because of time, I couldn't go into details. The structure of the African macroeconomy, all right, is designed in such a way that there are so many leakages. All right, so if you think of multiple taxation, now let's just take one of them. Because you have a situation of multiple taxation, on the adverse side of things, it also presents a lot of leakages for people to try the game system. Now, those leakages are incentives for capital flights as well. All right, there are incentives for over-invoicing, under-invoicing, all right, overpayments and all of those offshore accounting systems and all that take place. So if we're going to even persecute anybody, we need to first fix our structures to ensure that there are lesser leakages, the system is clear, all right, the lines of reporting are very clear. Until those things happen, you may not be able to place a tab on who is doing right and who is doing wrong. And as a result, all right, in efforts to also think who is doing right and doing wrong, the people who try to do this legally are falling into legal disputes and issues just because what we define as right and wrong is pretty not clear, and we have a complex tax regime.
Right. Now, Gospel, you made mention of one of the reasons these people mentioned, especially the African names, why they created this offshore account might be trying to guard against unstable government in the nation or even the continent. Now, would it be out of place to ask, or rather demand, that those nations that are harboring, that have this amount of money, send it back or repatriate them in kind or cash to the known countries or to their individual countries? Is that out of place?
No, it's not out of place. Conventionally speaking, it's the quote-unquote right thing to do. All right, but what we're seeing right now is that the complexity of engagement in the world has gone just beyond the lines of right and wrong, if you're being very objective now. There are now areas to adapting to what is right and what is wrong. So that's why it seems as though a lot of countries are not really, in as much as they've made public statements that they will send these monies back, there's no political will, all right, to further that action in a sense and then do that. So we find all those narratives out there because there are also political alignment, there are foreign relation issues and all that. So there are great issues than just right and wrong in dealing on these sensitive matters. And we also have conversations around countries where you have a huge capital flight uptake, like Africa, are strongly dependent on these advanced countries in the sense. So even if you're going to ask for something, there are conditions for them to give it to you as well. So it's a very intricate issue beyond just right and wrong or expected.
All right, just before we let you go, since the revelation of these Pandora papers, looks like all hell has broken loose. Now, let's look at the fallout of it. Is it possible that any of all these leaders mentioned, because the names are plenty, different African countries and even wealthy business people and people in government, do you see them perhaps facing a backlash or perhaps resigning from their roles as a fallout of all of these revelations from Pandora?
Well, from a value perspective, we don't see that happening because over time, again, there have been allegations here and there, but nothing happens. And that's because when you take the game at a very high level, it gets complex. All right, of course, at the mercy of other things that those monies could have been used for. So, for instance, now, if you try over $800 billion, all right, has been in that capital flight process between 2000 and 2015 in Africa, from Africa as a continent. So if you try to revert those monies back into the country, you realize that there are strong development causes that those monies could have. Justice is a major question, all right, value system is a major question. Citizen agenda setting, that's advocating and requesting for some form of accountability from government, transparency and all that, is still a major question. And I don't see any of these things happening anytime soon in terms of positivity and a light at the end of the tunnel in the sense.
All right, thank you so much, Gospel Obele, for coming on the program. Chief Economist at Streetnomics.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much.
You're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Today it is October the 7th, Thursday, 2021. We have Elizabeth Musa on standby giving us the latest from the continent of Africa, aka Trend Wave. Many thanks for watching. You're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Now we're about to bring you all the trending stories that have been happening in the continent of Africa. And we have none other than Elizabeth Musa ready to give us the latest. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Morning, Oluchi. How are you?
Fantastic. What's going on?
Okay, we'll stay in Nigeria, where the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, has put forward a proposal to disqualify people under the age of 18 from registering and owning a SIM card in Nigeria, allegedly. Now, this proposed regulation was announced during the public inquiry on 3 regulatory instruments on the rulemaking process in Abuja. Now, the regulatory instruments are registration of telephone subscribers regulation, the SIM replacement guidelines, and also the spectrum trading guidelines. However, at the public inquiry, some of the notable service providers have asked for a reversal of the age limit, perhaps make it 14 years and above. Of course, this definitely has sparked reactions on social media because people felt that how would you control ownership of SIM cards, especially from people who already have SIM cards, especially from teenagers who already have a SIM card at that time. Can parents buy SIM cards for their kids below 18 years of age? Those are the questions people are asking. And they're also asking, what is the process for retrieval of SIM cards in the case of people who already own SIM cards? Now, quickly, let's take a look at some of the reactions people are making on social media on this issue. Now, this is from Friend Dragon. It says, if backwardness is a person, so below 18 years can't run a self-business and communicate with customers and can't call parents when in school, can't communicate with family when in danger, but can get married. Now, this person is talking about how, you can't own a SIM card, but you can get married at 18 years of age. And it's talking about the backwardness of it all. And then there's also a reaction from Mark Songs. It says, so a child that just finished high school at 16 and is going to university can't buy a SIM card and use their phone in school, and then is there laughing. Of course, that's a sarcastic laughter right there. And we also have something from Ladman. He says, Nasha today go backward them savvy for this administration. Now, the adults will get the SIM for the young ones. Of course, that's the question people are asking. And that's one from Stardock. It says, if people below 18 can get married and communication is key to a successful marriage, I therefore opine that this policy is inimical to the institution of marriage in this country. Now, those are some of the things people, of course, are saying about this situation. But it will also interest you to know that a few hours ago, the NCC has also come out to debunk this report, saying that they haven't, in essence, made any reports like that, saying that, for avoidance of doubt, the Commission wishes to categorically state that the said report is not only misleading and inaccurate, but a misinformation and mischaracterization of the proceedings of the public inquiry. So they have, of course, come out to say that it's still, receiving review at the moment, and it's not.
But Lizzie, did the NCC put forward a proposal? Did they put forward this proposal? Because it's still a proposal. It's not an action. It's not law. It's not binding yet. But they put forward this proposal, and perhaps you get why the backlash has been coming from the NCC.
Yes, they put forward this proposal, but they are saying that it's still undergoing review. It's not, in essence, already a thing.
All right.
I mean, a lot of people have been reacting to this clearly from the tweets that we have been seeing, and people have come out to even ask this next question, which is, at what age will you allow your child have a phone? I mean, a mobile phone that has internet access. What age is too young or too old for a child to have a phone? I mean, this is a debate that's been ongoing, and it works differently for different parents. Some parents said as young as 12, some others said
14 years of age.
10. 16.
Okay, so that's on the parental level, but on the national level now, the NCC is coming out, not really coming out, reportedly, allegedly having proposals or putting forward proposals of having a think tank to discuss whether they would disqualify people below 18 from having SIM card. And you go, that's a bit, foggy woggy upstairs, just saying.
You say so, foggy woggy. But let me take you straight to something lighter this time around. Now, there is a relationship advice, or should I say marriage advice, that Lola Omotayo Okoye has for us. Now, she says, according to her, that if your husband puts his clothes on the floor, then that means it doesn't want that outfit anymore. It says if your husband leaves his clothes on the floor, it means it doesn't want them. It's okay to throw them in the trash. I will be back tomorrow with more marriage tips and advice, according to Lola Omotayo. That's an advice.
That's for married couples, right? I want to.
Married couples.
Olisa, if you drop your clothes on the floor, it means that I can, if I'm your partner, I can pick it up and trash it rather than put it in the laundry bag for it to be washed so you can wear it another time. Olisa, are you okay with that if your partner does that?
Why should any partner, male or female, why should your clothes be on the floor?
No, you might just pull it up and then
maybe in the heat of the moment,
trash it, you know.
Oh, on that point, I agree.
But let's take a look at some of the reactions. Of course, that's not actually a candid marriage advice. That has sarcasm in it. So let's take a look at some of the reactions.
And I'm only being sarcastic to Oluchi's point of the heat of the moment. Maybe some of the clothes, went sideways. All right, Lisa, what's up next on
So that's a reaction from someone. That is from Stardock Official. It says, some babes wey no sabi sarcasm go soon swallow this advice. Of course, so many people think this is true. And that's one from Kurazu. Kurazu says, people didn't see the sarcasm in her advice. She's literally saying, don't take marriage advice anyhow from people. For instance, I am not in any place worthy to give you marriage advice on this show. And that's from Flexi Erica. It says, LOL, thanks a lot. Do we check the pocket before throwing it away? And then Mommy's Some says, it's some people not understanding sarcasm for me. They literally take everything serious. Exactly. On social media, people say things like this and they say, oh, Lola Omotai, of course, can say that, then of course it has some meaning to it. But of course she's being sarcastic, and that's one from the girl Providence. It says, this is the only marriage advice I am taking. I think that person is also being very sarcastic. And that's from Veronica's daughter. It says, very true. Same as any money that he leaves in his pocket. It's not his. So Lisa, any money you leave in your pocket is definitely not yours.
Really?
Yeah,
it's not yours.
For you to trash it on the floor now, you don't want it.
Oh my.
If you put it on the floor, you don't want it.
The devil has taken it away.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Liz. When it comes to trend waves,
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, up next right here is sports. All right, well, we've seen the qualifiers for the next year's World Cup happening. We saw Morocco yesterday against Guinea-Bissau. 5-0 it finished in that match between Morocco and Guinea-Bissau. Ashraf Hakimi, the man from PSG, opened up the scoring for them, and Morocco clearly ran out against Guinea-Bissau, who was reportedly, about 25 players of the team had like stomach bugs, vomiting before the match, 24 hours. So it looks like it didn't really happen for them and were taken apart by Morocco. The other match did see a 1-1 draw between that team, Sudan against Guinea. So let's check out the results for you. And when it comes to the CAF qualifiers for World Cup, so Sudan against Guinea, still in Group I, 1-1, and Morocco thrashing Guinea-Bissau by 5-0. Well, away from Africa, in Europe, though, we saw Spain, ending a 37 unbeaten match run for Italy yesterday in the UEFA Nations League. 2-1, it finished between those two, and Spain really getting revenge over Italy, and that's from the Nations Cup earlier in this year. So that man from Man City, Ferran Torres, scored twice in the game. We also saw a red card for Bonucci for a second yellow in that match, and Lorenzo Pellegrini pulled one back for Italy, but it means that their unbeaten run, 37 games unbeaten, has come to an end for them. And we saw, check out the result once again. So 2-1 in favor of the Spaniards against the Italians. But there'll be matches today, that's for sure. Let's tell you, still in Africa though, matches today, fixtures, Nigeria. Super Eagles will be busy in their match. Apart from the Belgium game against France, we'll have Nigeria against CAR, Rwanda against Uganda, Mali against Kenya, DRC against Madagascar, Tanzania against Benin, and Equatorial Guinea against Zambia. Well, let's get set for this weekend's big fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. That will be part 3 now. Both fighters had their more like a show-off yesterday, and it was quite interesting, the comments made by those two. Let's check it out.
I went out on my feet.
That's a knockout.
I had a disloyal
You
trainer
got
to
knocked
throw
out,
the towel
Dosser.
in. Why you changed the first and second? Why you changed the first and second?
As long as I didn't cheat.
Going through to still fight you.
Yeah, you look like a Dosser.
I still accepted it, and you still couldn't knock me out. You still couldn't do that.
Can you stand up? We're going to do a face-off one final time. We have a huge show coming up for you on Saturday night.
So I'm here because there's nobody else. And because I'm the man that people want to see. I'm the entertainer. And I'm here because to give people a good show. Because if I don't do it, nobody does it. nobody will put on a show. It's full of boring people, and that's where I come into it.
I just tell you guys to prepare yourself and prepare yourself on the battlefield and get ready for war. Because this is right here is going to be an amazing fight come October the 9th. And as you see, I'm wearing my red outfit, so I want to...
All right, so clearly he wants blood on the third fight between himself and Tyson Fury. Well, I'll say let us watch and see. 9th of October, Las Vegas is the venue, but we are all watching part 3, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder.
All right, and that's it all in the world of sport, but you can still stay tuned to sport later in the day. I'm talking about later in the day. Here are some programs that you can watch later today on News Central.
We got Business Edge at 11 a.m., all about business.
And at 1 p.m. West African time, you can stay tuned to Beyond the Continent.
And at 9 p.m., a wrap-up of the day's news with NC Continental Prime. You don't want to miss it. Well, that's our package for Thursday. I guess I'm getting ready for Saturday. Like, you know, it's a good way.
I'm getting ready for today, Olisa. There's a match between Nigeria and CAR, Central African Republic. I am looking forward to that.
We have to go. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll tell you what of how Nigeria played today and how the fight will go on Saturday. I'm checking my pockets. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Adama.